heavy reps versus light reps. Which one actually builds muscle faster? Have you ever been in the gym, looked at the dumbbell rack, and felt completely confused? You see one person in the corner, grunting and lifting massive weights for just 5 or 6 reps. Then you see someone else on the other side doing 20, 25, or even 30 reps with a much lighter weight, wincing from the burn. Both of them look fit. Both of them are training hard, but they are doing completely opposite things. So, who is right? For decades, this has been the single biggest debate in the fitness world. The bro science is everywhere. You've heard it. Lift heavy to get big. Lift light to get toned. This confusion is a problem. It's a progress killer. It makes you second-guess your entire workout. Are you wasting your time with those 15 rep sets? Or are you risking injury for no reason by trying to lift as heavy as possible? I understand that feeling. You just want a clear answer on how to build muscle effectively and safely. Well, today, we are going to end this debate for good. We are not going to use bro science or gym lore. We are going to look at what the actual scientific literature says. The answer will probably surprise you, and it will definitely change how you train. The main reason this debate is so confusing is because of one single persistent myth, the myth of toning. Let's get this out of the way right now. The idea that you can tone a muscle is, scientifically speaking, nonsense. It's a marketing term. Muscles do not get toned. They only do one of two things. They get bigger, hypertrophy, or they get smaller, atrophy. That toned look everyone wants? It's simply a combination of two things. Having enough muscle mass. Having a low enough body fat percentage so you can see the definition of that muscle. You cannot spot reduce fat by doing high rep exercises for a specific body part. You can't get toned arms by doing 50 kickbacks with a tiny pink dumbbell. All you're doing is, well, not very much. The real goal, whether you want to be toned or bulky, is muscle hypertrophy. You need to build the muscle first. So, the question is not heavy versus light for toning. The real question is heavy versus light, which is better for hypertrophy? To answer that, we need to understand how a muscle grows in the first place. And it turns out, there are two main ways to signal your body to build new muscle. If you want to build a bigger muscle, you have to give it a reason to grow. You need to apply a stress that it's not used to. Your body then adapts to that stress by becoming bigger and stronger so it can handle it better next time. This is called progressive overload. But how does this stress work? The science points to two primary drivers of hypertrophy. The first and most important driver is mechanical tension. This is just a scientific way of saying force. When you lift a heavy weight, you are placing a massive amount of tension on the individual muscle fibers. Think of your muscle like a rope. Lifting a heavy weight is like a powerful, strong pull on that rope. The muscle cells sense this heavy load through specialized receptors. This signals a cascade of biological responses like the mTOR pathway that tell the muscle, "Warning, we just had to move something very heavy. We were almost torn. We must repair and grow bigger and stronger to protect ourselves." This is the entire philosophy behind heavy, low-rep training, like 5 to 8 reps. You create enormous amounts of mechanical tension, which is arguably the most potent stimulus for strength and, as many believed, for growth. For a long time, this was considered the only way. If you weren't lifting heavy, you weren't growing. But then, scientists and bodybuilders noticed something. What about the pump? This brings us to the second driver, metabolic stress. This is the scientific term for the burn. When you lift a lighter weight for a lot of reps, say 20-30 reps, you aren't creating as much peak mechanical tension. But you are doing something else. As you keep repping, your muscles are burning through energy. They can't get enough oxygen, and byproducts, or metabolites, like lactate and hydrogen ions, start to build up in the muscle. This is what causes that deep, burning sensation. This buildup of metabolites creates a chemical stress. It changes the acidic environment of the muscle cell, which also signals growth. It can cause cell swelling, what we call the pump, which stretches the muscle cell wall, and this stretch itself may be another signal for hypertrophy. So, the light rep camp argues that you can grow muscle by chasing this pump and creating massive metabolic stress. So now we have two competing theories. Team Heavy, maximize mechanical tension. Team Light, maximize metabolic stress. Who wins? This is where the science gets really exciting. For years, researchers have been putting this exact question to the test in controlled studies. They take two groups of people. They have one group train with heavy weights, e.g., 80% of their 1-rep max for 8 to 12 reps. And they have the other group trained with very light weights, e.g., 30% of their 1-rep max for 25 to 35 reps. Here is the most important part. Both groups are instructed to train to muscular failure. That means they do as many reps as possible until they absolutely cannot complete another one. They do this for 8, 10, or 12 weeks. Then, the scientists measure their muscle growth using ultrasound or MRI. What did they find? In 2017, Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, one of the world's leading researchers on this topic, published a massive meta-analysis. He gathered all the data from all the high-quality studies that had been done. The conclusion was revolutionary. When sets were taken to muscular failure, there was no significant difference in muscle hypertrophy between the heavy load and light load groups. Let me say that again, because it is the most important takeaway of this entire video. As long as you train to, or very close to, muscular failure, light weights and heavy weights build statistically identical amounts of muscle. The bro science was wrong. Both methods work. The key to growth is not the weight on the bar. The key is effort. You have to push your muscles close to their limit. You have to signal a need for adaptation. A heavy set of 8 reps to failure and a light set of 30 reps to failure are just 2 different ways of sending the same growth signal. Okay, so if both work, which one should you choose? Does this mean we should all just start lifting light weights? Not so fast. Just because they are equally effective doesn't mean they are equally practical. Let's look at the downsides of each. What's the problem with only training with light weights? Well, if you've ever done a 30-rep set of squats to true muscular failure, you know the answer. It hurts. It's not a good pain. It's a lung-searing, skin-burning, nauseating metabolic pain. It is extremely uncomfortable. It requires a massive amount of mental fortitude to push yourself to true failure when the burn is that high. Most people just stop. They stop when it starts to burn, not when they actually hit failure. So, they never send the growth signal. So, what's the problem with only training heavy? The risk. Lifting very heavy weights in the 1 to 5 rep range week after week puts an enormous amount of stress on your joints, your tendons, and your ligaments. It requires perfect form. The risk of injury is significantly higher. It's also very taxing on your central nervous system, which can take days to recover from. So, now what? One way is painful, and one way is risky. This brings us to the magic rep range. You've all heard of the hypertrophy range, training in 8 to 12 reps. For decades, bodybuilders swore by this range. And it turns out, the science now shows us why it's so popular. It's not magic. It's not the only way to grow. It is simply the most efficient compromise. Think about it. In the 8-12 rep range, the weight is heavy enough to create high mechanical tension. It satisfies team heavy. The set lasts long enough to create significant metabolic stress. It satisfies team light. The 8-12 rep range is the sweet spot that gives you the best of both worlds without the extreme downsides of either. It's not as risky as maxing out, and it's not as painful as a 30-rep set to failure. It is the most efficient, sustainable, and practical way to signal hypertrophy. This is why it's the foundation of almost every successful training program. I know how confusing it is to walk into a gym and feel like you don't know the secret. You're worried that all your hard work is for nothing because you're not using the right rep range. But here's the truth. The secret is not the rep range. The secret is effort and consistency. If you remember just one thing from this video, let it be this. The most important variable for muscle growth is training close to muscular failure, within 1 to 2 reps of not being able to lift it again, and then progressively overloading over time. You must give your body a reason to change and then give it time to do so. So my practical advice, the Quevo recommendation, use the 8 to 12 rep range as your foundation. Make it the bread and butter of your training. But don't be afraid to use other rep ranges. Start your big compound lifts like squats, deadlifts, bench press with some heavier sets in the 5 to 8 rep range to build strength. Finish your accessory movements like bicep curls or lateral raises with some higher rep sets in the 12 to 15 plus range to chase that metabolic pump.
Variety is good for your muscles, and more importantly, it's good for your mind.
It keeps training from getting boring. Stop worrying about heavy versus light. Start focusing on hard work versus easy work. Train hard, be consistent, and the results will come. Now, I want to hear from you.
After watching this, what team are you on? Let me know in the comments below. Are you Team Heavy, Team Light, or are you now on Team Train to Failure? If this video helped clear up your confusion about how to build muscle, do me a favor and hit that like button.
And be sure to subscribe to Quevo, where we break down the real science of fitness to help you reach your goals. No bro science required.
Thank you for watching.
See you in the next one.